What a false narrative means to us is what we've been discussing for a long time. What we've been discussing for a long time is what the system would do. The system would, in these recent times, the system would call out all their people. They would have these demonstrations. We went so far to say that the killing of Brother George Floyd, was a designed killing. It was an intentional murder. It was done in such a way to produce a national or even a global response, which it did. They would get control of that response. If you remember, during the first few days, people was really upset. They was coming out. They was burning things and carrying on. The only thing is, if you looked in Minneapolis, you would see that there was one police officer, a recognized police officer, that was destroying windows and what have you, and it was clear to everybody. If you look down in Florida, you would see that there were police cars burned, and this burning of police cars and this property destruction would almost give the police exactly what they want in order to come in and say we have to reestablish law and order. But the families and other people got charge of the dialogue, and they said, we don't want anybody destroying property in the name of our families. That's the family down in Atlanta and also the family in Minneapolis. So it slowed down a while. Then we got Donald Trump coming across from the White House, attacking the peaceful demonstrators, marching over to the church, and I believe he was holding the Bible upside down and giving his narrative. There's a lot of things to digest in that. But what we want to talk about today is the false narrative, the things that have happened since then. What we said was they would have these demonstrations for a certain amount of time. The people would get tired of coming out, or they would just turn out the lights themselves and close up shop, just like we opened today for demonstrations, and then the next day it's closed. When they closed up, I've heard that downtown Black Lives Matter, that Mayor Muriel Bowser, or whatever her name is, have started to demand that the people in Black Lives Matter Plaza, whatever they call it, that they can't set up tables anymore. They can't set up anything that without a permit. Now, they may be lying. I heard somebody said that if you have a table, that you can't even have coolers down there now. They say you can't have coolers, umbrella. You can't have nothing that produces comfort. Like, okay. The other thing is that I want to get directly to, and I might as well go directly to it. In the last few days, right after July the 4th, last week. All of a sudden, we have a wave of killing. It seemed like the black community was stable and everybody was out demonstrating. And then the last couple of days, the last few days, they have had waves of killing, and killing especially children in Atlanta, in Chicago, and other cities. Waves of what we used to call black on black crime. The system, the mayors, even the administration, Trump administration, have a collage of photographs of young black people that's been killed in the last few days. Here's what the false narrative is. You don't see any of the mayors, any of the people in Congress going to the point of these killings. The killings in America, black on black crime, started when they infiltrated the black community with drugs. None of the mayors down there go to the point number one. Hold it. You're talking about black on black crime. Let's go to when did this black on black crime started, and trace it back to the late 70s and 80s, right? And then you will see that this black killing blacks in huge numbers was because of infiltrating the community with drugs. During the 1960s, when blacks was looking for guns to shoot the police, they was hard to get. You read LA Sentinel in 1973, 72, 73, and 74. They have articles in the Los Angeles Sentinel that laid out how easy it was to get weapons in 1972, 73, 74. Why? Because during those years, they had moved from attacking the system to attacking each other. Okay? So this false narrative about black on black crime is a 100% false narrative. We're not going to sit here and put up with it. But one thing about it, what's going on now in the media proves that this is a clear-cut conspiracy by those Negroes who are voted in, because not one mayor, not one congressman have brought up any of the real issues. They are allowing it to stay in our lap. The system is placing this in our lap. We're not going to put up with it. We're not going to put up with it because we have to point out when this started, how it started, and how would you be able to quiet it down for a few minutes, and then right after that, you have a wave of killings. How could it happen? It could happen only if the system have they hand-picked Negroes in gangs and everywhere else. You know, like you go to, it's easy for the system to do it because people get arrested, they get charges, they go to jail, and the system offers them, well, you just stay on call. We're going to let you go this time. You stay on call. When we give you a call, this is what we want you to do, or we want you to do certain things. Then they tell them what to do. The hands of this crime is right on the system, especially the local police departments. The other stuff about defunding police, when you get all of this crime, how are we going to defund the police when we have all that crime? You see what I mean? So what they're doing is they have planned this from the very beginning. All of this is a part of a sequence. But we want all of you to not relax, but we want you to listen to this narrative that we're delivering and see how it fits and see how you fit in the narrative. Because this situation is not hopeless at all. Why is it not hopeless? It's not hopeless because when you look at the whole picture, right, the time in which we're living, you can then begin to put certain pieces together and you can put them in order. The first thing that we'd like to talk about, something that is very clear. Number one, the crime and the killing and the murder in the black community as of right now is done at the behest, at the direction of the system. Black people are a victim of the system in every way. It's so bad that there's nothing in this American system that haven't touched black people in a certain way. I was just listening to the radio this morning. They was talking about, let me see what they was talking about. Overtaxed, underserved. Overtaxed, underserved. That means, and this is, they gave an example of PG County too, right next door. Black people are charged on an average 13% higher taxes in the house. Now we know about it, because we're the poster. All the stuff that they talk about black people, we're the poster child for it, and we're going to show you how. They say black people are overtaxed but underserved. In other words, when white people are in a neighborhood, the property values usually go up quite a bit. But they don't charge them the same as if you lived in the white neighborhood along with your white neighbors. You would be fortunate as far as taxes. But if you live in a county like PG County, which has now become Ward 9, they call it, that means full of black people. This is what they said on National Public Radio this morning, that black people in that county are charged 13% higher taxes than their white counterpart. Okay, whether it's taxes, overtaxed, underserved, we already know the quality of schools. The quality of schools, when white people are in your neighborhood, the schools have a certain quality. When they begin to move out, the schools' quality also goes down. So you're overtaxed and underserved. Underserved in all the civil administration, in everything. You're underserved in schools, you're underserved in hospitals, right there. That DC General Hospital used to be right up the street, right next to the stadium. DC General, that was what DC, that was General Hospital. Just go right over there. They closed that down. Why? It's in the southeast. Now there's houses and townhouses there. Yeah. But you're well served with the jail next door. They got people hanging out of the windows there. But even in the DC jail, the legal representation, all that underserved. They got people standing behind a fence, and all the people, when you go into court, when you're getting ready to go to court, you go up to the fence and they got a whole ton of lawyers back there, and you just pick one. And all of them, their briefcases is falling apart. They need the money, but you just pick a lawyer, and 95% of it. So when you go in, you have to have a lawyer. So on the books, right? You had a lawyer. They gave you your Miranda. They read you your rights. They did all of that. You got due process, but you never get justice. See, there's a difference between due process of law and getting justice. You don't get no justice. Okay. So our mayors are sold out to the system. Why? Because they're part of the voting system. And if we was going to vote in freedom, we would have voted in 50 or 60 years ago, because we've had a black caucus for over 50 years. We've had black Congress people. We've had some black senators join the system, get in, and now we got black police everywhere, and they're still shooting us just like they always did. We have black representatives everywhere, but we're still overpaying the system. Remember, we're paying the system. We're overpaying the system that's underserving us. Before, we didn't have to overpay the system. We just lived below the tracks, and that was that. Forget it, right? And now, we're paying as an average 13% higher than white Americans. Forget about all the other stuff they have. It's hard for you to get a loan. It's hard for you to build up equity in anything and pass it on to your children like white people do. They said we have 8% or something of what white people have. This includes poor white folk. We don't have, technically, we have basically nothing. And you can be working right next to the white person on your job, and you're going to pay for everything at least around 15% more, and you're going to get another 15% less than they do. Overpaid, underserved. So this thing about voting, getting black mayors, getting black congressmen, getting all these people, well, we've had them for 50 and 60 years, right? The same things that they're talking about today came out in the Kerner Commission in 1967. What was the problem of black people? Well, police brutality, bad schools, bad this, that, and other, da-da-da-da-da. And it didn't go back to then. I asked my father once about the programs of Franklin Roosevelt. I said, he had the WPA, he had the NRA, National Reconstruction Act. He said, we call the NRA niggers raggedy ass. That's what black people call the NRA. Niggers raggedy ass. They gave help to white people, like farmers, all that. They didn't give no help to black people. So they didn't, in the black area, they didn't even have slips to pass out, for you to sign and get that stuff. Or you had to sign a special form to get what they give to white people. The white people are there, and they are told, okay, there's plenty of money in the county now for this, that, other. They tell them, and they said, now here you go. In fact, we filled out a slip for you, old John, your cousin, you've already, the sheriff had already filled out half of his neighbor's thing without even their permission, because he said, they got so much money, and it's going to be gone in so much time. So we want to make sure you get your share. So that's what they've been doing. And NRA was 1936. Said it stood for Niggas Raggedy Ass. So is every other program that they have that talks about justice. Now, so the demonstrations happened, then they started to unravel. There's a lot going on with those demonstrations. We saw a football player or something that had made some statements, and that was 2-3 days back, maybe, and it all related to something about the Zionist. And they want him to apologize to Jews. Think about the narrative. Black people are getting too much attention. All of a sudden, we want to take it back and give it some attention to Jews who, right at this time, are getting ready to steal the rest of Palestine, who occupy Palestine, who slaughter and murder Palestinians at will. In fact, George Floyd was killed in the Palestinian style. The police didn't have no fear of being challenged. They just murdered the brother. And that's what they was taught by Israelis. I want to say about us here, we are a successful institution by all standards, every standard that you could name. Everything that would be classified as a tragedy to other people have happened to us 10 times over. Just in recent years, you look now, our school is closed, like they're building houses around here. We bought all this property that we have right now on a roll to developing that property. Why? That we would masjid, school, business, geographical integrity, that is, living close together. The system rolled in, and if we had 8 to 10 functional masajid around the country at one time, San Diego's closed, Sacramento's closed, 2 spots in LA closed, and these are functional, right? Sacramento closed, all the activity we had down in Texas closed, Philadelphia closed. I don't know, there's so many that you can't even, I have to look at the list. Closed. The masjid in Oakland, without any legal justification at all. The imam who's lived in the masjid for, at that time, 35 years. So, up to now, 40 years, 1980 to now. Yeah, we bought it in 80. Technically, we bought it in 81, late 80, 81. And we opened it January 83. We opened a little before that, 82, but still. Without any justification, they emptied out our bank accounts that we had. They took our wealth that we had acquired to do certain projects. They just took that. They actually, I'm telling you, they just took it. First of all, you can't do that. The people that signed up on an account, right, you got to have bundles. You got to have all kind of hearings. You got to have everything. The bank cannot say, okay, they got a little slip from Sacramento, which I have 5 or 10 of the same slips. They write President Mukhtar, Vice President or something, Khadijah, and then Jordan, whatever the guy's name. They just write it on a list and give it to the state, and the state give them something with a seal on it. Anybody can go get that. They took it and they did what they want. Okay, that's all fine. As time go by, you will begin to see why we don't why we don't worry about delay or purposeful delay. Okay. Those would be big tragedies to anybody else. To us, they're child's play. Child's play. We act like it, we look like it, and we treat it like it's child's play. And we'll deal with it when we get ready, not when you get ready, right? We'll go to Oakland and fix that when we get ready. In the meantime, we just talked about tax. Look at the taxes they put on us, not only in Oakland. We went out to Oakland to pay almost $50,000 in taxes for them. When they're all there, it ain't like they wasn't there. This one is fully operational, right? And not only that, if they were having a fundraiser, we would leave here with money, and it's recorded because some of it was cashier's checks. Masjid al-Islam to Masjid al-Islam, 35,000 or 25,000 or whatever, to their fundraiser for their projects out there. The projects that we worked years on to bring up to par, they sold that property just like that. I mean, they didn't give them the money. The government has the money, you know. I mean, they just let Mukhtar put his name on there. It's absolutely no problem. We don't care what time limits they got. We don't care nothing about anything they do, because everything that they have done has placed us as the poster child. Think about it for today, right now. What other imam, right? Look at it, simple, but it's an arrest. Here's Mukhtar, here's the police. You can see the police, right? Right? You can see them all. Can you imagine? Right? That makes us the experts on this. What about I've showed this to you, just assaults. I had so much blood on me, they thought that I had a chest wound. They thought I had been shot in the chest. But cars, I don't know how many, maybe, we'll just say 15, just so that they run perfect one day, then they run like a clunker the next. The minute I put it up to sell it, zitten, it's like that Volvo I had out there. That boy was nice. And I spent a good $1,000 getting it fixed up. Then it just run like a bucket of bolts. So I cleaned it up. I told the guy, I'll sell it to you for $700. I started that car up, and it ran like a watch. It ran like a watch. Did you hear what I said? That car ran like a watch. Whether it's the vans, whatever it is, all of the transportation around here, the reason I have to have several modes of transportation is because the sabotage of the cars. Other people, this would run them crazy. Don't run us crazy. It's healthy. It's made us the poster child. All these tragedies, we are making them play for us. But the masjid, the school, the business, the housing, it would make everybody, because if you're working on something and something interferes with the progress of that, that makes people feel depressed, some even suicidal. If it happens long enough, yeah. And they begin to look at themselves and, what am I doing wrong? God doesn't want me to have these things. Or anything. It causes, hey, right now, if you think it ain't no joke, they have surveys on white people in Australia. The forest fires that just burned up all Australia last year, they did some surveys and they found out that although families didn't want to talk about it, the men brutalized their family more after those big fires. Why? It's just like you're having problem after problem and you feel like the world is out of control. At least you feel like I can have control over beating my family to death, who had nothing to do with it. All of those things. Now imagine if all this stuff happened to us. If we didn't have the Islamic approach or the elevated Islamic approach, right? Then we could become psychologically imbalanced. We could become paranoid. We could give up. That's what other people do. Why do you think black people give up? They ain't just weaklings. Hell, 50,000 things that happened to them. Their friends done turned their back on them, this, that, and another. They done used housing against you, so they done use your rent. Your landlord tell you, oh, you can't live anymore. You go to your job and the boss tell you, we don't need you anymore, right? So people begin to blues it. They begin to blow it. When you anticipate what's going to happen to you, you use that as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. We anticipated everything that happened to us, and all of it have became a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. That's what's happened with us. So big tragedies to everybody else is child's play to us. I want you to understand what's going on here. I want you to realize when you look at what's happening at this masjid, at this community, everything else that would have broken the back of any 10 people has literally no effect on us because of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means we know that we got a mission carved out for us. It's just here, that's clear, that we have a purposeful life already laid out, and we're carrying out things according to our ability to visualize, actualize, and to manage our environmental circumstances. So the things that break everybody else, it don't have no effect on us. Although they're great things. If you put $500,000 into a school project, of, let's not say your own money, but money that you run around and acquire. And all of a sudden the people pack up and leave the school. Whoop, they're gone. So what do you say? You say, Alhamdulillah, we sure was able to help those teachers and those teachers were able to help us, those students. Because all the students that went to our school, they're in some giant university right now, every one of them. They liked school. What that showed us was, although all the teachers were United States government agents, we showed that mediocre quality teachers, what they could do if they had their own environment. The students, since they were our children, liked the teachers, and the teachers liked the students. It was wonderful. Don't worry about it. We'll be back into that. We're just in it. All this stuff is temporary. All the stuff that we did before, we will supersede that. That's just in the first stage of our recovery. Let's call it the second stage. Like, that's automatic, those things that we do. All the stuff that you look at and you may think this is a tragedy, it's not a tragedy. It's the next step when we move ahead. Because like if we got 5 steps to move up during this period, the second step is the reestablishing of various masajid schools and building our houses. That's normal. That's absolutely normal. I mean, it ain't no big deal. It's because that's how we think about it. That's how we feel about it. And that's what we know about it. So those things that were big tragedies to everybody else, I'll tell you why it's a big tragedy. Because those small things are big to them, but they're small to us because we're thinking big. That's basically what it adds up to. The little dumb stuff, the little childish play Mukhtar and Khadijah do is so childish, is so silly, that it's easy for us to love them and have a program designed to help them. As soon as they're ready, we're ready right now, but as soon as they're ready, as soon as they realize how far they are gone, here they are doing little $2 stuff, and we're talking about billion-dollar projects. I'll give you an example. Maybe I should start from the top, but we talk about China a lot. Okay. If anybody, if you could look just China for a minute, just let's see, recent U.S. policy toward China. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang shows his English in Davos. China investments in Vietnam and Laos. These are documentaries. These are documentaries about China. The Belt and Road, have you ever looked up the Belt and Road thing?
Yeah.
My goodness. I look it up too, and I talk about it. But yesterday I spent the whole day going through this series about, what was it? Let's see. It was about China, and it was about the Belt and Road. It was one was about Egypt. One was about Iran. One was about the stuff that they do in Africa, and they use Egypt as a gateway. The money, remember we talked about that China should do its big stuff and then let Vietnam and Laos and those countries handle the small stuff to solidify Asia. Shh. They was doing that the minute I was saying it. Uh, encirclement and suppression, the U.S. just, what is it, Huawei, Highway or something, the 5G thing? Yeah. I don't know if you've been keeping up on it. But this morning, they said, okay, we're going to jump on you guys, or we want you to, this is Great Britain, to move away from the 5G thing because China uses it for spyware and stuff. And Britain did it.
Yeah, actually, I just looked at it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Just take my word. You can look up the Belt and Road stuff and just look up what China documented, China and Pakistan, New Silk Road, yeah, that type of stuff. Just the Silk Road or the Belt and Road Initiative, and it'll be stuff pop up. They have 8 programs. Chinese conquest of Middle East. Man, you should have seen the one on the Middle East. They always talking about China is doing the Uyghurs bad. They got the Uyghur people in China. They just had a great conference and where everybody can buy space at these big tables and they show their wares and they do this. China's having those all over the world. But it had one, what they show, and this is a neutral TV thing, the Uyghur people in China, the masajid look like pagodas right now. You see the beautiful Arabic writing, and they say this is where China and Arabic, on the old Silk Road, where they joined together, because some of the people, they're Chinese looking, but they're Arab looking too. And they said this is where they met. So they look more Chinese than they do Arab. But they invite all the Arabs, and they come and they're buying Chinese products. And China is selling. Look, I'll put it this way. The United States has lost on a grand scale. Like right now. It's lost on everything. China is spreading all over the world, and it's spreading Chinese culture, and it's in Russia, and you just watch it yourself. You won't believe it. And Russian culture sharing with Chinese culture teaching people all this stuff. I mean, in Iran and everywhere. They're showing how Iran is under sanctions by the U.S., but China is supporting Iran by buying Iranian oil right now. And they can't pay them back in money, so they send all those products to Iran, and you'll look at jeans and everything in Iran right now come from China. Of course, when they get on their feet a little bit, it'll be less, but who cares? The economy is booming. Not booming, but you notice we're going to starve them to death. We're going to make them do this. We're going to make them do that. Ain't nobody said nothing. Venezuela, they sent 5 ships from Iran to Venezuela. Yeah, full of oil and everything. Hey, man, the U.S., they walked away from Davos. They walked away from, is that World Health Organization? They walked away from World Health Organization. Chinese came in. They walked away from the Asian Initiative thing. Chinese said, fine, goodbye. We always talked about encirclement and suppression. Look. Now, I thought I had it down pat. I did. But only partially. They got boss man so tied up. And then I think it was the Chinese or the Russians that hired Donald Trump. Wait a minute now. Let's look at Don. What do Don do? Don is not a fast learner, and he don't learn anything from what he do wrong, right? No, he don't learn anything. He keep doing it. So whatever he do, if they said, please don't send people back, don't open up, Don, it'll be this. It's a hell, it just ain't gonna last for 2 weeks. It'll be gone away. It'll be 15 people, and it'll be that's it. He don't come to people and say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And now, what's happening now is devastating. I mean, you know, we're getting into real bubonic plagues type stuff. When you get 135,000, 140,000 people dead almost, and when you get 60,000 people a day, right, getting the blues, moving toward 100. I was 60 yesterday, the day before. The white man, Dr. Fauci, said that we're going to probably get to 100,000. And it's still just going right at 100,000, and it's getting, you know, you see the real red lines, and it's getting closer and closer to 100,000. I mean, even if it slows down, it'll still get to 100,000, right? So what if it levels off at 95,000? So what? What are you talking about? Suppose it doubles over that. Remember, and the man haven't learned nothing. He haven't learned nothing. They caught him with a mask on the other day down at the hospital. What's the big deal about, but you got to remember, the U.S. is beating everybody by the millions on this thing. The rest of the world is looking at what's wrong with America. Now you got to remember, America the great, America the strong. China, they got 1.45 billion people. Imagine, they knocked their thing down to little or nothing. They was talking about somebody came in the other day and we got 2 people. This is in China. They closed down Wuhan, whatever it was. Then it jumped back up the other day to 100 or, you know. Okay. Korea, they just masked up, suited down, sprayed everything down, and can you imagine? They had something like 100, maybe 250, I can't remember exactly, deaths in all of Korea, and they got 80 million people. That's it. They don't have 135,000 people dead. I'm telling you, now see, when it was down at 5 and 10, it was just creeping up. But now we're getting into devastation where, you know, this is real. Now, for me, it's been real for a long time, but it's really, really real. When they say California got these many, I'm telling them, hey, I'll go back to California when I get ready. Yeah, I'll go back to when I get ready. Florida. Oh, God.
Like, yeah, they catching it bad down there.
Don haven't said nothing, no. Can you imagine? Look at the man, though. You got to look at it. Somebody hired him to be that big a fool.
Right.
I mean, yeah, he's a fool. Yeah, he's arrogant. But being that arrogant, here's the thing. When you get China, when you get Russia, when you get the whole world is on China's side, they're the one that's got the Belt and Road. And the money they invest in. I said, man, they have turned the world upside down. They made the U.S. close in on itself. And they're expanding. The encirclement and suppression. Look, no, you use that stuff on the Chinese, and pretty soon they use it back on you, naturally. They said, okay. Because see, in 73, when Nixon went over there, well, we're going to divide China away from Russia, because they both Reds. So here goes old Nixon over there, then Kissinger come, and oh, we just love everybody. Yeah, by 1980, the deindustrialization of America, American companies are sending everything to China. They got all of those people. They put everything together, low wages. By the 80s, China is stealing everything that ain't, even videos. I mean, anything that had a copyright on it, China, they were stealing it. All the movies, anything. CDs, tapes, in those days it was tapes. You could hear, they stole everything. And when you would go to the shop in Africa, in Europe, or anywhere else, you know what they would have in there? They'd have the Chinese bootleg stuff. Same label and everything, but they knew it was bootleg. Why? Because you would pay 1/3 the price for the American stuff of what you're going to do. It sounds just as good. It looks just as good. What are you talking about? Right? They stole everything. Here's why the Americans hate the Chinese. Some of the stuff worked, but 80% of the stuff didn't work. Here's the linchpin. They thought that in the struggle of capitalism and communism, once the people acquire wealth, they want so-called democracy. That's the biggest trick. The Chinese whooped them so bad on that. They're mad right this minute because China got everything that it wanted. Now, you got to remember now, they got the transfer of technology. Usually, when the West gives somebody some little skill, they give them enough to put their stuff together, the Western stuff. They send it over there and let you put it together. But China demanded the transfer of technology. That means if you want to build it in China, you have to bring the whole bundle, from the rubber to the plastic, right, to the metal, and how to put it all together. And yes, we're going to work with you. You're going to put it all from scratch. So they can't do anything now. Then, first, the Chinese did America like the Japanese did. No, the Japanese. Way back when, see, I know you don't remember what I mean. Have you ever heard that radios had big tubes, vacuum tubes?
Yeah, we learned about that in school.
Yeah, big vacuum, big, okay. But the transistor radio, little bitty thing, the Japanese hit on that. So when the Japanese hit on that, that means all these transistor radios. And then made in Japan used to be a joke. The joke used to be, they had a place in Japan called USA, USA. So they used to put made in USA. Made in USA, it wasn't lying, but it was made in USA in Japan, right? I'm telling you. What the Japanese did, they did it to everybody. I remember in '71, I'm talking to a white boy down there in Bolivia. He said, look, see this camera? My camera, his camera. He said, this is a German camera, $300. The camera that other guy got, Japanese camera, $100. Which one? And it does the same thing as mine. Which one you think? They copied, they just copied. They copied everybody, and they copied it, and they got busy. Pretty soon, the Japanese owned everything. All the U.S. companies, music companies, Sony, everything. In the 80s, now they're talking about China. Then it was Japan. Japan slipped up on them. And Japan is powerful now, and became number 2 in the world. Now it's supposedly number 3. But Japan, look how they blew their own brains out in those days with Japan. They're really blowing their brains out. What did they do? Designed obsolescence. Car lasts here 2 years. What kind of cars? Man, all them big pretty cars I had, the smallest one had 472 cubic inches. After that, the rest of them had 500 cubic inches. They had 4-barrel carburetors. I don't know if you know what a carburetor is, but a carburetor is a thing that regulates the gas in the car. It's not fuel injection. Now they have fuel injection. Right. Then they had a carburetor. Well, it's the same thing. It sucks the gas out of the tank and run it through the. A lot of cars had a 1-barrel carburetor. Some had 2. And all the cars that I bought had 4-barrel carburetors. And then the racers, they would have 2 4-barrel carburetors sitting on top of the engine. You see them 2 big things sitting up there? Those old-time carburetors. And they used to have 3 deuces. That means 3 2s. Or they would say, man, what you got under the hood? And if you had all them carburetors, they knew it was hot. I say, I got 6 niggas with tennis shoes on under my hood. That's what's on it. But anyway, no, it was unbelievable what they did. Now you got to think now, America, gas was 30 cents a gallon. In the 50s, it was 20 cents. And even in the 60s, it was some places 20 cents a gallon, 25 cents. The most you would pay is 35 cents a gallon. So the tanks with them cars, I don't know whether they were 16 gallons or 36 gallons. I don't even remember. But the mileage on my cars were 11 miles a gallon on the highway and 6 or 7 in the city. Remember, 500 cubic inch engines, 8 cylinders, 8 cylinders. The engine, you seen them big old cars, you look on, you say, what is that monster? That's an engine. European cars, Japanese cars. England is an island. Japan is an island. They got to import all their gasoline. So they have to have what? Low cars have to get a lot of power and a lot of mileage. So Toyota, the biggest joke in the world was, I said, 68, 69. One of my girlfriends got a Toyota, and I thought of it like a toy, a Toyota. A Toyota. You thought of it like look at that thing. Then by the early 70s, Hondas, Toyotas, Mitsubishis. The oil embargo hit. Gas went from 30 cents a gallon to $1.25 a gallon. That was a lot of money. Again, this is in 1980. All the white folks that had all them big old American cars, they were junk, real junk. I mean, the 1969 Cadillac, an American-made car, had a 5-year warranty of 50,000 miles. That was then. 1970 had a 12,000 mile warranty or 1 year. What? Why? The quality. Right when they did that, lowering the quality of cars, making sure you got to come in and get them fixed, because the American, you wouldn't believe how powerful they used to have a saying, so goes General Motors, so goes America. GM. There was no such thing as a Japanese car in America. That's a joke. It was 2 or 3. But man, by the 80s, everybody got rid of them big old cars. Didn't nobody have them big old cars anymore, but a few Negroes saw how cheap they was on the used car lot, because the white folks got rid of them right away. They didn't run good. They were junk. They didn't last no time. It was planned obsolescence. They planned them to last for 2 years. So the American industry that used to be the envy of the world now was a laughing stock. Nobody would buy that junk. It was big. It was unfit for highway transportation. Everybody else, small cars, high efficiency. Now, go find an American car on the thing. Just go find one right out there. See, you could find that. There's a couple of Dodges, a couple of, well, ain't Plymouths anymore. There's a couple of Dodge Rams. I'm sure you could find, the police cars have to be an American car. Basically, that's about it. That's about it. That's about it. General Motors, who wants to buy? In the 80s, they started trying to improve on American cars. They just got too far behind. And they couldn't catch up. They haven't made it yet. The whole industry here is Hondas. Everybody's driving Subarus, Hondas, Mitsubishis, whatever they are. Right? Everything else. They don't drive. Can you imagine the whole auto industry? Do you know, you heard about Detroit, how it's, for the last decades, have been into such a decline? The auto industry. All of the Midwest. Youngstown, Ohio, Lordsburg. I used to drive between, I still drive past Lordsburg. parking lot used to be full on those big. The Rust Belt is right over there. The Rust Belt is right over there when you hit Ohio, when you go up to Detroit. In other words, Japan cleaned America's clock. In the meantime, we want to turn China on our side, and the unions make too much money here. The people in California lived in the hills. The people was making so much money at GM and all them places. They were wealthy. They were wealthy.
Middle class was a real thing back
No, but they was up on top of the middle. Those unions, yeah, they were they was up there. I mean, like in 1980, they was making $20 and $25 an hour in 1980. 1980. People would be almost happy to make $20 an hour now. Some people would. A lot of people would. If the minimum wage, we're going to boost it up to $15. That means it's still $8 or $9, $10. I don't know what people are going to do with that. But what Japan did to America was slip up under it. Oh, we just humble Japanese. But see, I tell you when I recognize it, in 1971, when I went to Algeria, first I was staying at one of them hotels downtown, and I saw all those Japanese businessmen. Because Algeria had some oil, and they was Japanese. And I knew how tough Japanese was. And I used this terminology. When I got to Black Africa, we got in a squeaky 1970 or 71 Land Cruiser. It was called Toyota Land Cruiser. That one now, that big bad, boy, it's a bad joker now, big fat tires, and it don't squeak, it don't do. That boy was new then. It was taking the place of the old Leland Land Rover. The old Leland, when you see them old safari movies, they had a big Jeep looking thing. Those were Land Rovers. Same company make the Rover now, but they were Land Rovers. And we'd ride in that thing and it would squeak and what have you. Within a few years, the Japanese Land Cruiser was on the money because Japan believes in Kaizen. Kaizen means slow, constant improvement. Whatever you put out, you have to make some constant improvement. And they improved the Toyota, and they improved everything they put out. They improved their cameras. They improved everything to pretty soon, even now, when you go in buy some gadget, it's still Japan. Okay. And now, here's what, now remember, America messed itself up with its production of junk. Now, at the same time, by 1980, the people are making too much money. America can't afford it anymore. They lost billions. In the Vietnam War, they went off the gold standard in '71 because America had all the gold before, but to fight that war as a long war, they used up all their gold. Good God Almighty. So they were broke. The Vietnam War broke America. Okay. Not only it destroyed the people and their connection with each other, one side on this side and all of that, but really the Vietnam War had a shattering effect on America. It was terrible. Okay, now, let's go to China. There's a book, if you can find it, see if there's a book called De-Industrialization of America. De-Industrialization of America. Probably came out in 1980s, mid-80s, maybe early 80s. Okay, here's what they did. They took all the industry from the United States and they slowly sent it to China. Pretty soon, China is building up. By 1990, China is on a roll.
Yeah, I found it. Is it by, what's the name of the author?
But I just wanted, just as long as it is a book and it, De-Industrialization of America. They did that on purpose. Look, nobody, no black person, no Latino, no American Indian, nobody went to these white folks and told them or helped them ship all of that to China. They're mad at China because they're mad at themselves. Because Deng Xiaoping had a thing in those days. He said, don't make the Americans mad. In other words, humble Chinese, humble Chinaman, and they did that. They did that up till a few, look, they kept that policy up to about 2 years ago. By the time they look up, China is big, and it's bigger than America. America is not the #1 economy in the world. It's not even close. China. By the money it's spending, the Belt and Road, and America talking all of that stuff, America is isolated. And then the policy of the UN, policy dealing with the Zionists, everybody mad at all their policies. The people of the world, America is isolating itself. That's why, personally, I've always known that somebody hired Donald Trump. First, I thought it was the Iranians, and I told the Iranians, I said, and then they looked kind of like they might have had done it. But look, why? Why? Because everything that America is doing helps them. They don't like it. They don't like the isolation. They don't like the cutoff. But remember, the JCPOA and all of that, everybody else is still in it. The U.S. left. And the U.S. looks so mean. Imagine with Venezuela, with all this coronavirus and all of that, they don't give them no break. Can you imagine how mean they look around the world? And now, I looked at the Belt and Road, some places where I used to be, like in Kenya, Mombasa. Mombasa is a beautiful city, town on the Indian Ocean. It's mostly Muslim. And the train takes about 12 hours from Mombasa to Nairobi. The new Chinese train takes 4 hours. And you're there. They have red tours in Russia. All right. Chinese go to Russia, spend all that money. They used to be allies. They were both communists. And they know there's a lot of communists still in Russia. But the Chinese have shown them how to play the real communist game. You know what I mean? How to use anything you want and call it whatever you want, and you don't care what nobody call it. All they do, this works for us. So they say Marxist-Leninism, Chairman Mao and Deng Xiaoping thought with Xi Jinping, whatever his name is, interruptions, and it's with Chinese characteristics. I don't know if you've been, yeah, in other words, just like we do. We doing this show with Negro characteristics. Technically, we don't care, we really don't, whether people like it, they don't like it, whether they invite us, whether they don't. All we know is that's what we're doing because it works for us. It works for us. And don't worry about the physical payoff. The physical payoff will come. You know, here's one of the things. The Chinese and the Russians got their eye on America. If the federal government got their eye on us all the time, the Chinese secret services, intelligence networks, they're going to pick up on it. You know what?
Right, yeah.
And they're going to, so why they watching them niggas all the time? Why are they watching them niggas all the time? What's so, they watch them all day, all the time. What's so important about them? Then they start studying us themselves. And they said, them niggas, why? They think we're heroes. Their books, Chairman Mao, you know, Chinese characteristics, 36 strategies, you know, the old stuff the Chinese have on war and all that. They like us. And guess what? They can't be selling out. They can't be weaklings because they wouldn't be watching them like that. They wouldn't do them like that. Okay, so now, I'm not saying this has happened or will happen, but, and this is what's so stupid about the U.S., why would they keep on battering black people upside the head? In a few more months, maybe it's already happened, when China, when Russia, when all those people want to spend big money, they'll be able to buy up all the politicians. You can buy up on that. You can buy them up now, but imagine in a little while, because who loves America? Nobody. Americans don't love America, except, let's say, us. They're doing their stuff in and around us, and we should be the very ones they're trying to cater to. I'm talking about the Americans. They're so stupid. They're cutting their own throat. They're cutting their own throat so much. It's like the samurai when they cut something, at least in the movies they do. When they cut something, a piece of wood or something, it stays standing for a while, then it falls. You know, that's the way this boy is. The cut's so clean. To me, I'm telling you, I'm a petty student of history, and I always have been. So I usually travel along with the trends or in front of the trends. Right now, we're not doing bad. This is still, when a big power falls, everybody, in 300 years, China will be going down again. Maybe Iran will be going down again. Because it always goes up and down. All the ancient civilizations, they had their day, then they disappeared, some of them popped up again. You know what I mean? And like, okay, everybody now that was down, hey man, China is smart. They're so far, They're the smartest. And they really have a utopian vision. Their communist vision of the world is, call it utopian. But their belief, and they've always believed like this, you have to start moving toward communism from capitalism because nobody else can afford it. So they're technically a super capitalist, but they're also strategic. They didn't knock Sam. They didn't knock him. He's knocked. He's knocked. He's just out, and it's just been counted out. That's all. He hasn't been counted out. America is done for. I mean, it's really, really, if anything I've ever said or analyzed came out correct, this is the most certain thing of all. It's like he can't come back from this because why didn't Rome save itself? It knew where it was going because it was time for it to go. Its behavior pattern, its customs, all came in, its arrogances. And imagine, and we played to the arrogance of America. That's why we would tell them, you got to surrender to us, the Negro. Okay, and you got to give us a J.O., a Negro JPCO, whatever it is. You got to give us that, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. Well, okay. And we know what we're doing. We're telling them that we're making it hard for you to go along with this program, buddy. Yeah, it's impossible for the stuff we just lined up. You can't do it. You're not tough enough. You're not humble enough. You can't swallow that. You don't have it, and he don't. He ain't showing no signs. I ain't seen no. That's why we. Okay. We will, in the future, we will get the strategic award for Negroes. I don't have no. Look, that's the way it goes. They talk about the Godfather's soul. The Godfather's strategy will be us. Already, we already done won that. We don't have to do nothing to win that. We already got it. Why? Everything that we have said, right, have followed a certain pattern, and that means, remember, other people, 40% of what they do come out, 50%, if they're lucky, if they're really lucky, 60 or 70% of this stuff come out. But it's not like that with us. It's in the high 90s, I would say 98%. Comes out, just like we say, over and over and over again. And the reasons are the exact reasons that we give. That's what they are. Okay, that's the way it is. And it ain't started just last month or last. You go back as far as you want on any lecture you can find, you're going to find that pattern. Okay, so boss man is in a position that the very people that he should be carrying, black people, Latinos, American Indians, he should be rubbing their back, oh, we're going to fix everything. He should. Why? Because he's going to need them, and he ain't did them no good. And, of course, we'll try to help him, but everybody else, you know what I'm saying? You must be crazy, boss man. I mean, dirty sombrero wearing, lazy, talking about Mexicans. The most unlaziest people I ever seen is Latinos. They're unlazy, right? They're unlazy. And the idea that he tried to give of them is a guy laying under a tree with a big sombrero on, taking a snooze. He's going to pay for that. No, now, I'll put it this way. America has set itself up for a major failure. He haven't left one stool with no leg on the stools. The people of color, finished. Okay, the outside enemy, what outside enemy? You, right? You know where you unify the inside by choosing the enemy from the outside? You know, like if there was somebody from space come to attack the Earth, well, everybody on Earth to get together to fight. Because we fall from on Earth, right? And this is the bad guys. At least that's the way they would put it. America has had so many blessings, and the wars that have happened, they always had ocean. This ocean over here, Atlantic, 3,000 miles to Europe. That ocean over there, 10,000 miles, 6,000 miles, you know, to Asia. Over there, Pacific. Okay. So nobody could get to them. So they could build and build and build. And they had a great opportunity to make the world a beautiful image. And they blew their opportunity. They blew their opportunity because they was just selling rags, and, you know, people was happy to buy them for a while. But sooner or later, people, long as it's just they being sold rags, it's one thing, but when somebody else bring a nice, brand new something or other, and they look at it, they say, they've been selling us rags. Boss man, you've been selling us rags, man. We've been dressing in rags. We've been wearing raggedy shoes, raggedy. And that's where they are now. It's now we prayed for it, but there's a tinge of see, when America goes down, it takes our family and friends with it. So, in the final analysis, I believe this Rescue America stuff, rescue the people of America, but not the system. I feel that's where we're headed. Because all of the different processes that we went through, and then when we get to Nafs Samara, the physical stuff, okay, if we get through that. Nafs Lawama, the conscious, when you become a human being. You know, right and wrong. The conscious person. Then Nafs Mutmaina, the satisfied soul. That's what it is, I'm telling you. And the ayats that we like about As-Sabiqun al-Awwalun, radiyallahu anhu, radiyallahu anhum. In other words, they are pleased with Allah, and Allah is pleased with them. Those are those ayats about the satisfied soul too, that Allah is pleased with them, and now us, we pleased with Allah. Ain't nothing else we can do. We're pleased with Allah. We're happy with that. I believe that we had to evolve to this stage because of the job that we have to do. Because nobody else would handle it properly. They would get arrogant or stupid. They would throw all the money away. They would something. You know what I mean? They would get paranoid. They would blow it.
That's the history.
Yeah. They would run off with all the white women, all that. Well, they wouldn't have to do it now because everybody's running off with each other. But at one time, that was a thing. You know, that was the one time I told people in Oakland, I said, I would not, it was because a white woman wanted to get married. I said, I wouldn't marry a white woman. At that time, and it was true because all the brothers was running off, every football star, anybody you could see had a white woman. They wasn't got the white girl. It wasn't just, what was his name? O.J. Simpson. It was most of them. Okay, and then the poor Negro woman was there and just watching that, and so she would be thinking, what is wrong with me? I nursed the nigger, I helped the nigger. As soon as he got to the big league, he dropped me and he got this stringy-headed lady that as soon as he go broke, she's gonna leave him too, because of who needs a poor Negro? Okay. So at that time, I wouldn't marry a white woman. It wouldn't make any difference now because but that was about 30-something years ago. I was 35. I was firm on it because I had my friends, they would tell me, you couldn't, one of the brothers, he was a good brother, he said, you couldn't melt a black woman and pour her on me. God, dog. And I just watched the brothers. I said, boy, and I understood what happened. But anyway, so 24/7, why? If Deutsche Welle has been here, if the Russian press has been here, if the Japanese press has been here, somebody knows something. I feel that all eyes are on us. If boss man eyes is on us, then so's everybody else. Because everybody want to know why you watching them all the time, right? And then they start listening to us. And I believe that people are developing a firm trust in us. I mean, grown people, not people like Mukhtar and them. No, grown people. I mean, you know, like the real mature, because you got to remember the level we're on. We're at the top of the level, like with all of the top statesmen. We flying with them. No, we're not, just because we're sitting there, that don't have nothing to do with it. When Mandela came out of prison, he came out on the top of the line, although he was in prison 27 years, right? If everything that's been happening to us, we are learning from it. So we keep going up the ladder all the time. In other words, we're moving, we're growing, we're evolving right now. The lectures that we're giving are evolving. They're evolving, they're getting higher and higher, and yeah, so let's see. So I believe our mission will be just like what we think it is, a big mission to help humanity. It's a humanitarian mission. And we had to get to this point because you start off, you say you want to help everybody, but you really want to help first black people because that's where you started, and then struggling peoples, you know, and then eventually everybody. I'm proud of our evolution, that when we go to those demonstrations, we'd say 25% of these people is our people or good people, you know. And that's the ones, and we like them. They don't have to have no whole lot of sense to be, they have to be, you remember, the people are easy to mislead, man. That's why the government can do all of this stuff. Oh, we want to you're anti-Zionist, anti-Zionist or anti-Jewish. You didn't believe in the Holocaust. I ain't said nothing about no damn Holocaust. I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, you got to watch your mouth. Wash your mouth out with soap. And then they can't get us like that. Okay. With this black on black crime, the mayors don't get it. They may have forgotten. They may never have even believed. I don't know. They may not have just believed that the white man just put drugs. They may not even believe it. It's not on our business. We know it's a reality. So I'm trying to put it this way. We are evolving at the rate to keep us with and out in front of the process. So we grow bigger every day. Okay, with the people, the government takes such rotten advantage of the people. But see, with them being surrounded by China and they're trying to make China bad, pretty soon the people will realize that, hey, maybe you did this, you know. And just like weapons of mass destruction. Oh, so you just invaded Iraq and lied on them. Okay, all right. So you invented the Taliban. Mm-hmm. Oh, you invented Daesh. You in Saudi Arabia. So all of that's coming back around. Let me move toward a close. So we're a poster child for injustice. Texas, all the stuff they did, doing to other people been doing, they've done it to us in spades. Okay. I have down here semi-radio silence, but we may alter it a little bit. Semi-radio silence, you know, when you're in the war, they have radio silence. They don't talk. Well, it's a long time ago. That mean, the way I mean it is like we have psychological guerrilla warfare. We have things that we say and do, and we twist a little bit of it to mean this and twist, but it's all the truth at the same time. So we're going into a upgrade of, a kind of an upgrade of the dialogue, because everything that we're talking about is getting close. It's not off into, technically it's now. It is now. You know, the virus is now. The people are dying now. The plague is here now. You know, Donald Trump is a plague himself. He is a plague.
I remember your commentary about Babylon and all the plagues.
Right, yeah.
Remembering that
yeah.
you gave, thinking about, I think that was before COVID-19, if I remember correctly.
Well, originally, it was before, because I made some way back. That was the one I just made the other day. Babylon the Great. I make it every. Yeah, I did one about 3 years ago, and I did one 5 years ago. I've been doing them. That's a theme. Yeah, I've did it many times. Okay, but the plagues, when the people are called to come out of Babylon, come out of her, and don't partake in her sins and her debauchery and what have you. I mentioned the drug war already. The depths of injustice that they're doing on black people because they can get away with it. This is just the time when they should be bringing black people close to, they should be sharing. Their line should be, we are all Americans. Right. Then they could have a chance to come back, but they're preparing all the Americans to be against them. Yeah, and this is not way off. And remember, the money, the stuff that it takes to destroy a system just when they need them. It's when everybody's going to pull their thing. And remember, Russia and China are friends. They got stuff that they equal to, or they're technically better than the Americans now. Because all their ambassadors are seasoned, highly educated. Yeah, they're not, this is my friend, you know. It's merit. You get to merit. One Chinese lady was saying, she was big and something or other. She said, well, I was second in my class. That's why I'm this big. She said, but the first in my class, that's what they take, the first. She's a big Chinese woman, doing something. Because they go by merit. They don't go by like, this is my homeboy. They go in by merit. And when you go in by merit, that means you set the criteria for what merit is. And then if you do that generally.
That's deep because, hearing that comment about that Chinese lady, and they took the person with the high scores and stuff. To this day in school,
right.
We get taught it's not what you know, it's who you know. To this day,
of course.
That's what we get taught. Yeah.
And it's true.
It is true.
It's true. If you go to one of the big schools and you get to meet all the kids that are, well, they're going to make all them kids big so-and-so, right? So, hey, and if you're smart, you'll run the track with them. You'll be right next to them. Because, hey, when they need somebody, they're going to call, hey, why don't you come on over? And that's what they do.
Right.
Okay, it ain't, this guy is super smart over here. Yeah, some of them, he's a great, knowledgeable person, but he's not my friend. Okay, the point about the system will need people to, if the people will sell out to America, and they done enslaved them and all that, they'll sell out to anybody. So the people here, they're gonna sell out to Chinamans, anybody else. And it ain't nothing wrong, everybody's selling them out. They're just doing, hey, you gonna give me a break? Good, okay. Just when they need them. Okay, it's not that we're damn fools, but that America the good, that's our mission, no matter what happens. Just remember that, no matter what happens there around, America the good. Because the people didn't do nothing to get this. No, the white kids don't know that. Hell, they didn't even know that they put niggas in jail every other week, right? There, I was listening to them. They really do that to you guys? They ain't never seen it. Would you have ever believed half of the stuff that goes on here before you got here?
No, I remember sitting in class and saying, it sounds a little bit out there. The first.
Right, of course. It's right. It's out. It seems like, but it's technically it's normal for what they do.
I understand that.
And now, remember now, what we're shooting for is abnormal.
Right.
We're shooting for America the good. We're shooting for good, doing right, doing justice, no matter how they treat it. You can't, that's not normal. It's not normal. Now, we know it's not normal, but you got to remember, that's our mission. That's why we're here. That's why everything, that's why, I don't know how to say it. Can you imagine you're alive and you ain't worried about nothing? I don't care. Because for yourself, but only good you don't need anything yourself. I don't need anything. But everything is for everybody else. Now, I've been like that most of the time, but this is a really improved model, where that was 20% of your character before, but now it's way up there in the 80s and 90s that I don't want anything. You have to be that way with all these big stakes going. Would everybody now want to, hey, can't you just shade it a little this way? You just have to say to everybody, hey, I'm sorry. This is what we're going to do, because this is the right thing to do. That's what it's going to take to put the balance back in the earth. Yeah, and I think it'll be big time. Before I reach 100, I believe we'll have a good smell of this within the next 5 and 10 years. And by the time I'm 90 years old, of course, if I make it. And I technically don't care. It's not that I don't care. I think I would. I don't mind getting to be 90 or 100. But, hey, man, I don't know how to put it except contentment. Now, I believe that comes from a lot of work, too. I don't think that people can just pop up and be contented. I don't think so, because I think it's too many things pulling. I think it takes a long time and a lot of work, and the more you put into it, the higher the level of contentment, because there's low level contentment, medium level, high level, But anyway, in this mission for America the good, and it's our choice. See, it's our choice. We got a choice of what we can do. We got a choice. I could have took the buyout a long time ago and be a multi-millionaire. Any amount of money that you could, because remember, I was rolling along already 50 years ago, just had everything that they talk about then. And that's when you're young. Okay, that's our mission. That's our mission, and that's our goal. Are there any questions? Anything came up that people wanted to?
When you were talking about how black people they overpay taxes and they're underserved. Someone said "Assalamu alaikum," or sister said "Assalamu alaikum," overpaying the raggedy SHIT STEM system.
Right. Yeah.
So that was a comment someone put. But that was it. No one asked any questions.
Okay.
But I guess concerning the assassination of George Floyd, like based off your analysis, so it's staged. It was set up there for a purpose.
Yes.
But like, what possible purpose could the white man have hoped to achieve for his own self-interest by putting that execution on display? Like, what?
No. Remember, you got steam and everything, and you bottle it up. Yeah. And if you're smart, you let it out. Okay. So you produce that environment. Remember, you got to remember, all of the stuff that happened here, he controls it. Right. He controls the radio stations. He controls the TV. You can see what's been happened. He got a lot of power. Okay, so therefore, they would select him and have him do that in front of everybody, because the people will rise up. They want them to rise up. They're not rising up because of this. They want to rise up. They're told to rise up. Remember, every time we went down there, we're just checking everything out. And nobody trying to do nothing. I want y'all, me too. I hell, can't nobody know me too. There's something to do, right? It's just something to do. Okay, but so we're watching, and we're analyzing all the time. Why would they do that? They would do it because, like the women's demonstration, Black Lives Matter, what was it, Million Man, all that stuff. They control it. In all of it, you have a big turnout, but you don't get nothing. Well, think about it. Think about all the people that come out. What has been the response from all the people that came out? Go back 2 weeks ago, everybody was everywhere, right? Now, everybody's gone. And now the media is back with their narrative. You got to follow them. False narrative, that's what the whole talk is about. The narrative that they're giving now, and they have the ability to give that because they brought everybody out. Shaping and herding, we call it. You shape people's behavior and you herd them where you want them to go. That killing in Atlanta, the white lady that burned down the Wendy's, remember they was talking about her with the guy. Yeah, they was talking about her. Or why was the police and the Negro that they killed talking about her? What connection did him and her have? Okay, one thing about it, she burned down the Wendy's. Nobody black had anything to do with it, right? Okay. Here's the thing for sure. They engineered the killing. They developed it. We're all concerned. This terrible. 24 news cycle. Don't nobody remember. Almost. Just 1 week ago, they don't remember. They remember, but now we're somewhere else. We're back to the coronavirus. We're somewhere else. They did it on purpose so that they could bring the people are building up a little steam. So they do something to make you blow off steam, but it's dissipated. It's not like a steam engine on a train where you regulate it and it drives a train somewhere. That's why we was telling the people, where you gonna go with all the people you got? Why are you here? What are you gonna, remember the questions we asked? Every time, simple. Why are we here? Where do we wanna go? How do we wanna get there? What type of opposition are we gonna face? What? They're gonna like it, they're not gonna like it. What, right? That's why they would do that. And they have done it. They did just what we said they would do. Our analysts, they did it. They got everybody out, ran them around the block a few times, right? Got them a little sunshine, a little fresh air, and now they back whatever they're doing. But they're not focused on anything. Who's now being focused on? The mayors, the other people. And they don't mention anything about how it got like that. They ask them, look at your cities, they're killing babies. The people, the mayors are too cowardly to say, I believe y'all setting this stuff out. They won't say it, we will. They don't even say drugs is what caused us to be like this. Right? They don't say it, but that's what got all the killing in the black community. Okay. So they arranged it. That's why the talk today was false narrative. The narrative that they're giving everything is a false narrative. It's an arranged narrative, and they've been had it arranged for a long time. But remember, we said they were only 70% successful. Remember that? That means they did that. But look what they lost. They've broken the hearts of people again. Everybody can see now they're not going to do nothing. And they're going to have the police, they're going to give them more money so they can keep the killing down. And unless it's a miracle, they're not going to do it in the churches unless we help the churches get a better understanding, which as soon as we get time, we will, you know. But we're not bound to do everything, you know what I mean? In other words, we're not bound to, we got to save the world. We're not superheroes. Well, we say we are to make the white man mad, but if Allah infuse you with certain stuff at a certain time, people will think that that's what you are. Now, you can play like you are if you're just playing. But if you start thinking you're a superhero for real, you can call it a day. If you ever change from giving it to Allah, that's why I love that I went through every change that I went through. I love that I had all the money in the world. To me, it was all the money in the world. And I gave most of it that way. But you know what? I wind up with more money than everybody else that tried to keep all their money. And then it's not that I don't want it, but you know, we'll get whatever we need to do what we need to do. The point is, they arranged this. They arranged all other marches, or most of them. They arranged the alternative radio over there, alternative TV. And we had a chance to see all that. Ayub was here. He watched the guys, how they start off in a certain level, then boop, they ease them on into their alternative media. They start off talking with us, working with us, and then they transition to that. We don't transition with them. They transition. We know more than they do, but it doesn't make no difference. They tell the story. They want their people to tell the story. That way nothing will ever get done. Okay. So that's where we are. That's where we are. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that makes sense. That's satanic, man.
No, that's who's running the world. Remember, the shaitan said, just, all right, since you done throwed me out and all that stuff, I'm going to lie in wait for your homeboy. You made me out of fire and you made him out of dust. I'm better than he is. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to wait for him on the right, on the left, and you ain't going to find them niggas. They ain't going to be praising you. I'm going to run them niggas crazy. That's what the shaitan says in the Quran. When I say niggas, I mean humans. I'm running all of them crazy. They're not going to worship you. Now that's a bold old shaitan. He's talking to Allah. And only because Allah gave him a reprieve. He said, okay, you gave me a reprieve, parole for a while. Now, right? So he don't expect that, long by and by I'm going to go to heaven. No, I know where I'm headed. I know I'm doomed, but I'm taking 96% of them niggas with me. Yeah, I'm taking them niggas with me. And he's been right throughout history, right? He got most of them with him. Most of the people, they either get on the satanic bus or they ride on the trailer, or let them drag them on, right? Yeah. They're headed with him. The percentage of people that talk like we've been talking here, America the good, nobody else would do it. I don't know anybody would do it. Because the guy has not been nice. He's been mean. He does unnecessarily evil stuff. You know what I mean? The system, the shaitan. So, anyway, I hope that halfway answered the question. No, I believe that they arranged this for that purpose, to gain control of the narrative. But when it's your time to go, if there would have been 50, 70 years ago, America's on the ascendancy. When you're on the ascendancy, it's hardly nothing you can do. You can't do anything to change it because that's the qadr of Allah taking you. Okay, but once the direction changed, you can't stop it. You can't slow it down. You can't. And that's why we say, why don't they do that? It's so simple. You can't do it. Because the direction and changed, right? Why couldn't Rome just change? All they had to do is change one or two things, and they would have come out. How come the British, all they had to do is this, that, and that? Why? Because just like on the way up, Happy Days is here. On the way down, on the way up, they brutalized Indians, enslaved Negro, boy, they talking about Mexicans. They killed Indians down there. What happened up here was nothing. They would knock off the population. Mexico City had 500,000 people in 1535. It wasn't but 5 or 10 people. They knocked over. And I mean, what they did in Central and South America was pure genocide. What they did up here with the Sioux and Lakota and all that, that was terrible. It was terrible. It was nothing. It don't look, I'm telling you, the population of the Americas were in the multi-millions, and they wiped out. When you talk about, in those days, 20 million people wiped out, 25 million people. Okay, that was Europe's ascendancy. That was their ascendancy. Now, the thing is kicking in. And it's turning against them. It ain't nothing they can do. Why don't they do little simple stuff? Why would just when America needs someone with sanity, why would it pick the craziest man in the world? No matter who put him there, he is the worst thing for America now. Worse. Because it's time for America to go. Okay? Now, that's why we're here. We're going to be in on this, and we're going to be in on it in a big way. That's why we're talking about this stuff, and the other people are talking about, you did this, you did that. And nobody, what?
It's like, they just, y'all ain't watching the news, y'all don't see what's happening here?
Well,
all this petty stuff?
they on that because they're children.
Yeah.
They're children. They're real live children. And they can't, remember, they can't talk about this because hell, they don't know nothing about it. They would sound crazy coming up talking about, somebody said, what did you eat last night to make you pop up? Right? Talking about this stuff. Right? If the white man gave him a class on it, he could only teach him what he know. And it would be apparent. Okay, this is Allah's work we're doing. So is that about it? Or was there any more questions or comments?